I'm just walking down from Summerhays Estate. Used to live there at Valley View for 40 years, but I've lived in this area. Now we're at Cam, near Dursley in Gloucestershire, which is on the southern tip of the Cotswold Hills. And so I thought I was passing by visiting friends and family, and thought we'd have a look around some of the places I remember sort of back in the 1950s. So I thought we'd start in Spouthouse Lane. It's quite a few reminders of different buildings that I remember from walking back from Woodfield School all those years ago up to Green Street, Cam Green, where I used to live, where I grew up. But a lot of my time, I suppose, was spent in what was then really known as Lower Cam and Upper Cam. So we'll wander around and see what I can remember. I hope you find it interesting. Some nice little cottages here. Now on the left we've got the what used to be called the Temperance House. I think there's a plaque up there, I don't know if you can see it. 1896. Now that was built so people were encouraged to sign the pledge not to drink alcoholic spirits, and to go in there and have tea and coffee and things. So strangely, it was opposite the Forester's Arms that used to be a pub over there. More recently it's was a bed and breakfast. Also up here we've got Chapel Street, and there was lots of different shops up there years ago, back in the 50s and before that, as well as the Methodist Chapel. There was groceries and post office, electrical shop, all sorts along there. It's one of the main shopping areas of the area. So we'll continue to the end of Chapel Street. I'll pop a photo in of where we used to live at Summerhays, just so remember that. That was about 1971 when we first bought that house and got married. So now we're coming into Station Road, and you can see the Railway Inn down there. My grandfather used to play dominoes there, I think, years ago, and it's still going strong now, what we can see of it. And on the right we've got some nice cottages, and then next to it is the Cam Institute. Again, I think that's got a plaque up there. Yes, it says at the top the Cam Institute, which used to be a little shop, and also it had a function room upstairs, which was handy for occasions, with a piano. So then we've got the bridge that over the River Cam, And you can see the river down here. It flowed down, have a look the other side, from Cam Mills. Bit of a fence this side. We used to stand here and look at the colour of the water years ago in the 50s, and sometimes the water would be green and sometimes it would be red, and we used to say, oh, they're making cloth for the guards' uniform, or green cloth for billiard tables that day. So, and also the site of Cam railway station, which used to be here, with gates that used to open. And this cream building over here used to be a baker's, Steele's Bakers. And when we used to look where those cars are now, we used to see the little, I think they're old Morris split screen lorries that were in there ready to sort of deliver the bread. We'll have just a nose round the corner here. Oh yes, here we are. Look at this. This is steps that used to go up to Cam Park, Cam Memorial Park, and used to walk up there also. And on the left used to be Cam British Legion. Had a sort of a, I think it was a sort of a galvanised type or wooden hut there. Yes, on the left used to be the British Legion building, and these were very elegant steps that used to go up to the park. Seems a shame not to go up to the top after all these years. And in the park, I remember there used to be a fish pond, lots of goldfish in, and there used to be big metal gates there, but just a concrete wall now, and it's all completely overgrown. But as well as the fish pond, a lot of mowed grass, you know, and a bandstand as well. So that was really quite a feature. So this little footpath up here used to call the Cat's Walk, which used to cut off the corner from Station Road to Upthorpe Hill. And here in the bushes I can remember an old abandoned lorry that was in there for years and years, sort of just decaying away. It'd be quite a classic now if it was still there to be restored. But we'll walk on up to the end of Station Road, and we'll join Hopton Road. I can remember when I had my first car in the 1960s. There's a Triumph Herald, a 1948cc, 1959 Triumph Herald, grey with red seats. Used to come up here, and there's a really bad bend here as you turn left up Upthorpe. But then we used to call it something else. Yes, there's the bend, and we used to call it Ocker Hill because it was an awkward corner to go around and quite a steep hill. Little pathway down here with a gate. I'm sure I went down there on the occasion. There were sort of some narrow gauge sort of railway lines. I don't know if it was to move stuff from the train into Cam Mills. Perhaps it was, you know, something to do with the materials they were getting in to make the cloth. So we're going on along Hopton Road, and just past these houses where there's some newish houses there called Mill Bank. There used to be some water towers here. I remember them being quite black and stood up on sort of pillars of some kind. So they've gone years ago, of course, and I don't know if they were used again for the water supply for the mill or not. Job to find, remember all the history. I mightn't have even known it at the time. I might get some of it wrong as well, of course, so if you want to mention anything I've missed or haven't remembered correctly, then do put it in the comments below. So along yes, here's Mill Bank. Nice small estate, and we're coming to the start of Hopton Green. It stayed much the same, the green area of Hopton Green, but over on the left here is there's that bungalow there with a cream front, is where my grandparents used to live, and I lived there for a while till I was about 3 or 4. Grandparents with Arthur Rose and Beatrice Rose, his wife, who was Martin. Put a couple of photos in. We used to call it Carfax. That's because my grandfather's first wife, Amy, came from Oxford, and I think Carfax is like the crossroads, which is recognised to be in the centre of Oxford. The next bungalow, I'm sure that was Mr. Malpas lived in there, but I'll put another photo in. Some people from Norway come to live there and stayed for a few years. I'm not sure if he didn't work at the power station, but the grandparents made very good friends of them and really valued their friendship as neighbours. Over there we can see Elm Lodge, which is the retirement complex. I'll put a photo in of when it was being built, first of all, but for a while my mum and mother-in-law lived there, and also Miss Cripps, I remember, and Mrs. Stamps, lovely ladies that used to take along to Congregational Church at the time. Now we got some houses over the back of this hedge here, but that used to be, I think it was called Cam Fibre Arts, and it was to start with a couple of Nissen huts, and they used to make things out of vulcanised fibre, like waste paper baskets and suitcases and things like that, you know, letter trays, and sort of cut it up in patterns and rivet it all together. And this is really before excuse me, plastics come in, you know, to overtake those type of products. Now we have the school house, which used to be where the headmaster used to live for Hopton School. My father went to the Hopton School, and so did I. Then it was a boys' school with just 2 teachers, Mr. Parsons and I think it was Mr. Howe, and 2 classrooms. Went there after I'd moved from Woodfield School. So we've got Cam War Memorial, which covers those who gave their lives both in Lower Cam and Upper Cam, as probably most of the lads went to school at Cam Hopton School, so there quite a lot of them are remembered here. So the bottom tier is for the First World War, 1914 to 1918, and also then it continues 1939 to 1945. Yeah, nice view of Cam Hopton C of E Primary School. There used to be a playground out the back. There was just the old two classrooms, one to the side and one behind the schoolhouse, and then there was a playground which seemed to be slate, very hard surface, and then after that there was a sort of a wooden building which was a canteen, and then over where the trees are used to be a lawn where, when it was dry enough, we used to go out to play. And I'll put a photo in of one of the school events when we put on Robin Hood, I think it was, and dressed up. Big tree here now. This tree definitely was here when I was at school here, so it must be quite old. Very nice. This end of Cam Hopton Green. So now, going a bit further, and we'll come to Teetotal Valley as we knew it. There was, I think, one or two, it might have been one or two Cotswold stone sort of whitewashed cottages down here on the right, where these new houses have been built. And the guy that lived in the cottage signed the pledge, and so he abstained from alcohol, and so it was known as Teetotal Valley. I expect he went along to the temperance house down in Lower Cam, and just next to it is a little stream, bit overgrown, but there is a stream in there that we used to call the Delkin. But can't really see it now. Now we can see Cam Peak and the Long Down in the distance over the fields, and next to this what used to be a farm, and we used to remember cows, herds of cows coming down the road to be milked. And Cam Peak and the Long Down used to be covered with bracken, and of course that died off in the autumn, and some mysterious reason, quite a few years I can remember it catching fire, and there's a couple of cottages up there which are a bit concerned about it coming too close. But they somewhat cleared the bracken now, and especially on Cam Peak, and planted bluebells. So actually the it looks very pretty in in the spring now, covered in bluebells. And of course at Easter they have a procession from Dursley, the United Churches, churches together, and have a procession from Dursley that with Stations of the Cross, and end up on top of Camp Peak, and there's a metal sort of stake in the ground there, which they bolt the cross to for the Easter celebrations. Well, now we can also see St George's Church. It's got the Union Jack flying today because it's the Platinum Jubilee weekend for the Queen's 70 years of reign on the throne. I actually remember that, I think it was a year later, 1953, we had a celebration of the coronation, and I received, well, I put a photo in of this Bible that was all in a lovely box with the Queen on the front and a little certificate of to remember the coronation. This building is the what used to be the old girls' school, and it became unsafe in the early 1960s, and so then Camp Hopton School down on the Green was had extra classrooms put on to join it all together, and the girls went over to the schoolrooms at Cam Congregational when that was being done. Yes, here's another view of the old school building. It was seemed to have been built in 1836. We're at the top of Hopton Road now, where it joins Spring Hill. And then this building used to be a grocery shop called the Champions, and I remember, you can see where the gate used to be in the wall here. We're going in there and buying sweets, and Mr. Champion had a very impressive moustache. He used to twirl the ends around with his waistcoat on. So now we're in Church Road. And the bus stop where we used to catch the 116 to Dursley, and the old telephone box. So now we're the white building, you can see, is what used to be Cam Congregational Church, and before that Cam Meeting. You can see that red brick house there was the manse for the chapel, and now Cam Congregational Church is called 3C Community Church. Around here there used to be a vicarage, old vicarage, and then a new one was built here on the right, but got a lovely view now of St George's Church Tower amongst all the flags that bunting that's put up to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee. I'll put a photo up because we used to go to church here when David Squires was vicar, and had both our children christened here. What you can see here is what used to be the old schoolrooms, and the bottom one was built in 1895 and was opened on May Day that year, and the first floor was put on at a later date. Also, interestingly, on this side, the road side of the building, you can see these black doors down the bottom there, and that was inside there was called the stable storeroom, and it was where it said the preachers who used to come from a distance used to come on their horse and used to put their horse in there when they were doing the sermon. And here we have the original chapel, which is well over 300 years old now. That used to be the main entrance before they put a car park in. So I used to go there when I was a child in the 1950s. My grandparents' Nan, as I called her, was one of the organists, and Bumper, my grandfather, was a deacon there. So I often used to go along, and remember going up in the balcony where they had the manual pump for the organ, and when appropriate, my grandfather and myself used to start pumping the organ for Nan to play the next hymn with the bellows. And in the sermon sometimes we used to eat barley sugars, but that's another memory perhaps of our time there, because we did join that church and were there for wow, over 20 years before we moved away from here. Now, another interesting spot around here used to be the bottom entrance to Lister's, and I've got a photo, I think, of my grandfather. I'll pop it in. I think it's when he left. He retired, the day he retired, and it was in around 1960, I think. And you can see the gasometers in the background. So, a lot of memories around here as we approach this junction, which used to be a big, sort of a railway bridge across here, and it was called the Quag. I don't know if it's because it got flooded. And that used to take the Dursley donkey, as we used to call it, because the engine's whistle used to sound like. Also now we've crossing the river again. This is the same one, the River Cam, as we've seen down on Station Road. And again, I think a lot of waste used to come down here from the Lister's site as well. So we'll just cross over here quick if we can, before the cars come, because this building over here, which is Old Road cottages, and this one on the end used to be a pub, and it had the unusual name of the Ramping Cat. And as we just pop up a little way up Kings Hill Lane, I'm sure there's a sign on the side. Yeah, you can see it up there, look, the Ramping Cat. So, the last road on our walk of memories today is Everlands, And again, we used to call it the ash path. So I think a lot of the ash from the Lister's foundry got put here to make the road up before it was tarmacked. Well, as we see, we can see a public footpath marked here, and there's sort of the remains of the old footbridge that used to go across the railway line. So it's got a bit overgrown now, and they've diverted the path down the bottom here. Now the train's gone. I suppose they deem the bridge to be a bit unsafe, but you'd think perhaps it could be restored or moved to a one of these classic railway lines where they got steam trains to take its place of use again. So the train line was put in place in 1856, I think, and came from Coley Junction all the way up to Dursley. Of course, it was passengers to start with, and my grandfather lived in Hopton Road and used to go down to Cam Station sometimes and catch the train to work and home again. So he made use of it, especially when he did overtime. I think he used to come back on the train. I think it stopped passenger traffic in 1962, which I suppose my grandfather was handy because he retired by then. Arthur Rose, his name. I think it kept going for freight, until the end of the 60s anyway. Obviously useful both for listers and cam mills for bringing the goods in, what they needed. So we're more than halfway along Everlands, and this is where the Cam Scout Hut has always been as long as I can remember. Cam Scout Group now it's called. So I expect that's a very good resource for the young folk of the Cam and Dursley area. So I spent many happy years around especially Cam in my school days, and wandered around these streets quite often, and I got a bike, did this biking around here as well. But oh, look what we got over here. We got a cricket match going on. That's Cam Sports Club, and they do cricket, and there's tennis courts there. So they've got, it was thinking of rain a bit earlier on, but I think it's cleared up for the cricket match. I think Cam Bulldogs Football Club also meet there as well, and the Barclay Skittles League as well in the building over the back. So again, a lovely resource for the area. But here we've now got Cam Mills. Hasn't changed much, I don't think. Might have a new roof on, but this is how it was in the 50s, really, these walls. And also it used to have a clock tower as well, and I'll put a photo in of that's my mum with a photo of the clock tower in the background. I'm not quite sure where it was taken from, but thought I'd slip it in. There was also two chimney stacks there as well, I remember, and the hooter that used to go before the shift started in the morning and at lunchtime, etc., to remind people to get to work on time. Back then it was owned by Hunt and Winterbottom, obviously, as I said, manufacturers of cloth, such as the guard uniform and billiard tablecloth. But I think these days a lot of it is tennis ball material, that the yellow tennis balls. Up this bank on the left here, behind the trees, I can remember some sort of water reservoirs, I suppose they were, probably bigger in capacity than the tanks on Hopton Road, and they had wire fence around them to keep people safe, so to speak. I don't know if it was for the mill again, probably. Somebody probably tell me if it was something different. And anyway, there used to be a hole in the fence up this bank, and local lads used to get through there and do some swimming. So that was all in front of those cottages. So we have the sort of, I suppose it was the office block of Cam Mills, their main entrance, just all very red brick. And then we've got Cam Mills Bowls Club over there, and I suppose that's what with a cricket just along at the Everlands sports ground. And now we've got a bowls tournament going on. So now we're at the end of Everlands, joining up with Station Road again. So we've had a bit of a circular walk, which I've enjoyed. Trying to remember memories of the mainly 1950s, and so if you've lived round here and in the past, perhaps it's been an interest to you. So until we meet again, God bless.